6 p.m. As chairman, I'll call the meeting to order. If I could ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, did it sound like every single person in the room was with us on the pledge?
It did.
Thank you, everyone. It's a record.
Roll call, please. Seventeen present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Sorrell, would you remind everyone of the mask order, please? Would you remind everyone of the mask order, please?
Sure. Pursuant to our county's policies, everyone in the room and in the building should be wearing a face covering at all times. If anybody has any questions, we can certainly answer those.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Approval of the August 12th minutes.
Motion to approve from Mr. Fennell and a second from Ms. Groves Allison. As you know, Mike has spent some time doctoring them up since we met. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none. Mike, I thought they were well done. Please vote.
Seventeen ayes.
Thank you.
Next would be proclamations and presentations. A presentation by Trefsker's Bakery.
Welcome. I think I saw Kim. And whose desk did I lay this on?
Perfect. All right, I'm going to move it over a little bit. No, I'm not going to move it over a little bit.
I'm going
As
to
far
let
as
her
it goes.
do most of the talking.
Hi, I'm Katie Kim with the Kim Group, and this is
And
Jeff.
I'm Jeff Hebner, the owner of Trefsker's Bakery. My wife Martha could not be with me tonight, but she's still working on wedding cakes.
So we asked Scott and to come and basically say thank you, and to also share our experience with the Peoria County the Macro Loan Fund, the Keystone Funds, as it's informally called, or and I'm not sure if it's formally called that, but and the impact that it made. I know not everybody may be able to go out to see Trefsker's, so we wanted to just say, first and foremost, thank you for your support, because but for these funds, the project would not happen. And so we're going to kind of showcase some of the before. So this is what the building looked like before. The building was built in 1893/95. We're still trying to define that. And so when Trefsker's Bakery wanted a building that reflected their brand, which is a small locally owned business that's been in Peoria since 1861. This was as close as we could get with the year. And so it had been a blight building in Peoria Heights, pretty, I want to say abandoned, because there's a lot going on in the building, just not probably what we wanted. And this is what it looks like today. So we actually removed all the lead-based paint, which the inspector of 35 years with the state said was the highest content he'd ever seen. That's not something you want to be number one in, but we'll take it, and it's gone. It's remediated safely. This is actually what the front part of Trefsker's Bakery, where you go in now to order treats, looked like before we started doing any renovation. It had parts of the floors missing. It had 5 fires in this building. And this is what it looks like today, with a lot of people in it, actually. So This is the second floor of the building, which now is not only home to Trailside Event Center, but also Identity Salon and Photography by Jill. So we were able to also assist not only Trusker's Bakery to expand to create Trailside Event Center, but also help 3 locally owned businesses expand and offer more services, because we also have Leaves and Beans in the basement of this building too. So funny side story real quick is when we went up here the first couple times, we got lost because we couldn't find the stairs to get down. So we had to look at the dust footprints. And this is what it is today for Trailside Event Center. And wanted to kind of share, because some of you on the county board might not have been here when we came originally. This is the financial stack that we had to put together for this project. So as you can see, there are 7 financial sources, and actually there's an 8th one with the historical tax credits that we pass through to our investors. And so again, if you look at any one of these sources, some of the challenges, just to kind of again go quickly, once one of them changes terms or conditions, you have to go back through to all of them. So it makes it a very trying and a long process. But to have a small business be able to locate into a building that is 3 times its size for only really 1.5 times the rent, and be able to put energy efficient systems in place that actually take their utility cost in half, you need all these sources, and you need the help of the county in this manner. So this is why we really wanted to come and say thank you, because this investment has made a huge impact, not only within Trefsker's Bakery and the team there, but also within the village. So we add a $590,000 loan amount. The initial, it was granted in February 2016. The loan term was 10 years, and we are happy to announce that we are able to pay off the entire loan August 16th of this year. And we had a total of $79,220 paid into the county for interest, and the loan term was only 5 years and 6 months. So almost half the initial agreed upon loan term, and we've been able to pay that off and put those funds back in the coffer for more projects to go. So thank you, I think doesn't say it enough. But also the other thing that we want to express is also it's not just about the money and the return for these funds, which I know that was the intent, which is what we also wanted to share with you as well, is that the impact that these funds have done throughout the community. So with this project going, it gave confidence locally to start developing Peoria Heights. As you guys can probably look back over the last 5 to 6 years, there have been a lot of projects that have started. You know, you can't say one point is the starter, the igniter, but it is a ripple effect. With part of this, as you saw, there was a business development district created. That was originally part of the downtown, is now extended. Again, but for the Keystone funds that the county provided, this project wouldn't go forward. The business development district wouldn't be created. And they're producing, again, these are kind of some pre-COVID numbers, but over $150,000 into a business development district fund, which now is making our local governments, so the Peoria Heights, to be able to take that money and use it on projects that would normally require to come out of their budget. So we use some of the funds, as I sit on the Business Development District Committee, we use some of the funds to provide a facade improvement grant program up to $10,000, which I think we have over 5, if not maybe 7 now, applicants that have already done it and done the improvements. The cost of resurfacing Prospect Avenue, that we were able to take some of those funds and help that. For the road improvements, planters, and we also created during COVID a grant program that allowed local business owners as well as building owners to apply for a grant to help them with their mortgage and their rent assistance. This was something that was able to be provided in a time of need for those businesses and those building owners. So that, I wanted to let you have more insight into what these funds that you've been able to bless not only our project with, but also the village of Peoria Heights. So that ripple effect is really huge. And some numbers that we haven't narrowed down yet, but I'd love to get them narrowed down and share them with you via email. But there was a 10% increase in building permits from the 5-year period before Trefsker's to the 5-year period after Trefsker's. And we're adding up all the permits amounts because there are some huge projects like Herman's Apartments, the 4500 Prospect, which has Edge and 12 Bar, the condo building on Samuel Avenue, and multiple other ones that are bigger cost. But again, one permit doesn't really tell the whole story, so we're working on that. And it also enhanced a special village, like I said, within our county to be able to do more locally with those funds with the help of the county. And just a kind of high-level ripple effect, these are all estimates because I don't have insight into the actual cost. But about 2 years after completion, the Heights saw about $16 million of ripple effect development. And these are projects that are posted for, I'm going to say, about 6 years after it. It's about 38 million, and it keeps growing. So again, just really wanted to give you insight into not only just the interest that we paid off, the shorter loan term, but the ripple effect that these funds have had throughout Peoria County and especially through the village of Peoria Heights. So just wanted to say thank you. I don't know if you wanna say-
And she said it the best. But yes, thank you. We couldn't have done it without this extra loan. Yeah, she put together the loan package for the entire project and took our little bitty old bakery, you know, farther up on Prospect, and we have persevered through COVID last year. We lost a lot of money, but we're back in the black already. So, you know, this year has already been very good for us, and we're just continuing to go up, and that's why we were able to get this loan paid off sooner than we expected. So it's been a blessing.
Well, thank you both.
Thank
But
you.
before you go, Mr. Dillon, do you have a comment? Or you could at least set me up.
I have something to say to Mr. Dillon.
Well, I was jokingly going to say that thanks for this is the first time Katie's been here and not asked for money. But she must be setting us up to ask for money down the road.
No, but that's a good point. I'll find
No,
something.
but I know this was an important project to Kate's district and Mr. Phelan. And all you guys worked very hard on this leading up to this. And it wasn't an easy project together. And you have seen the development in the Heights, and to Jeff and Martha and Katie, and later on down the road, which we have River City here. River City was the great contractor that helped create that. So good teamwork, and appreciate you investing in Peoria County.
And that's actually one thing I was going to say, that it was built union, and it was a pleasure to work with River City Construction because, as you can imagine, the building with 5 fires, no floors in certain areas, and that old takes a very skilled and a very, I would say, technical construction company to kind of think on their feet when we come up with things that are issues. So it's been also a pleasure. And I see Don Forrest over there, and Farnsworth was our architect as well. So looks like you have a great team in the room for future projects.
Mr. Elsesser?
I just wondered if we figured out a way yet to enjoy all these goodies without gaining any weight.
Well,
That's why we went by.
We haven't figured that one out yet either.
I think that's 4 million of those little sugar cookies just to pay the interest back. So it's my turn. So congratulations. I know that the sleepless nights before you closed your shop and opened a new one pale in comparison to the sleepless nights after you moved in. And I remember being there on move-in day. It didn't seem there was anything free. I just want to point that out. Katie?
Nope, we got to make some money somehow.
Yeah, so that could come off Miss Katie's cut. So, but more importantly to Katie Kim, who emerged on the scene, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. I know her in-laws because we used to rent from them out in Pioneer Park 30 years ago. But there's nary a project in town that she's not got her hand in. And her team, of course, is whom I'm sure she would give credit to. And she happens to have 2 wonderful little boys that love soccer and ice hockey like their dad. But Katie is a super mom in every way. And they don't recognize those. We do. Now, Katie invited me to a YWCA event. Now, let me back up and say this loan came in uncollateralized with no policy on how we write them and when we write them, and Mike Phelan using his leverage with all of us to not say no. It's not the kind of loan I would ever ask for myself, nor would I bring to a bank, let alone a public body. This kind of project, when she has put together all the financial people who are willing to stick their necks out, including the little bank in the Heights, I'm sorry, I can't remember their name, it puts us in the position of being the traffic cop on whether it goes forward or not. And if you look at all the downstream stuff, which she never told us was going to happen, what a shame it would have been had everybody on the board thought like me. So I'm attending this function for the YWCA, and I sit down with Sid, and I pick my plate of food, and she promptly introduces me as the chairman of the county board. His name is Mr. No. And I enjoyed that night. Not really. But I really enjoy it now. So best of luck to you, Katie. The door is open. The county is alive and well. And if you can produce these downstream results, we might be your preferred investor for last-in money.
Great, love to hear that.
Awesome.
We'll
Take
find-
care. We just want to be paid back. That's all.
Amen.
Miss Bastusha?
I just want all of us to keep this in mind as we go through our strategic planning session coming up in October. And one of the things that, I mean, I take a lot of pride in the fact that this was before I was on the council or the board, but, you know, I feel like we're a mama bird watching our baby bird fly from the nest, and it just gives us pride to share in your success, and I feel like that's part of our success. And I'd like to think about this when we do our strategic planning session, and when we think about, you know, what we want to do as far as you know, the Keystone funds and further you know, helping out with our economic development. So thank you for bringing this to us, and I'm thrilled that this was a success.
Thank you, Ms. Gate. Dr. Blair?
So I was on the, I was actually chair of the advisory committee for the loan program that approved this. First, thank you for your cream puffs, without which I would probably not have diabetes, but that's okay. I think that this is such a good use of our Keystone funds, is to take risks on local businesses who provide jobs and so many other great things. And I hope in the future that we can help leverage more things like this.
Thank you, Dr. Blair. The bizarre footnote to this story is they used to be called a mom and pop shop. Now they're the giant. So, to your point exactly. Thank you both. Come back with stories to tell.
All right, thank you very
And
much.
I wouldn't mind a free cup of coffee.
Next would be a proclamation recognizing the week of September 20th through the 26th, 2021 as National Rail Safety Week.
Thank you. Phil, who's grabbing this for you? Somebody with glasses? Was it going to be Kate or Rob?
Kate.
Rob, Kate, we have a meeting record to set tonight, and you're getting in the way of it. Welcome, Bill.
Can you hear me? No? Hello? Got it? Okay. So this is a proclamation for Rail Safety Week. Whereas rail transport is an essential part of the U.S. and Illinois economies, with Illinois having the second highest total rail miles in the U.S. at 6,883 miles, on which more than 2 million tons of freight is moved yearly. And whereas throughout 2020 there were 1,889 rail grade crossing collisions in the United States, which resulted in 678 personal injuries and 201 fatalities. And whereas in the same time frame there was also 532 pedestrians killed and another 556 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way in the United States. And whereas Peoria County has an active rail system with 6 railroad operators running a total of 80 to 85 trains per day. And whereas in Peoria County there are 307 grade crossings, 183 of which are on public roadways. And whereas Operation Lifesaver brings together railroad operators, law enforcement agencies, and all levels of government to jointly educate and inform the public about rail safety, remind the public that the railroad right-of-ways are private property, and enhance public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings in order to reduce the number of fatalities and injuries. And whereas since 2014, Peoria County Highway and local governments have applied for and received $1.3 million in railway safety improvement grants administered by the Illinois Department of Transportation, as well as $550,000 in funds from the Illinois Commerce Commission for the same purpose. And whereas an additional 5 projects in Peoria County have been selected by the Illinois Commerce Commission's 2022 and 2026 Crossing Safety Improvement Plan and IDOT's 2022 and 2023 Local Railway Highway Grade Crossing Safety Program, which combined will bring up in approximately $1.7 million for railway safety improvements in our county. Now therefore, I, Andrew A. Rand, Chairman of the Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, do hereby attest our support in proclaiming September 20th through 26th, 2021 as National Rail Safety Week, dated this 9th day of September, AD 2021. Andrew Rand, Peoria County Board Chairperson, and Rachel Parker, Peoria County Clerk.
Thank you, ma'am. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do first?
My name is Bill Pearsall. I'm a highway railway safety engineer for IDOT as a whole, so I work out of Springfield. On behalf of IDOT, Bureau of Safety Programs and Engineering, I'd like to thank you for the proclamation. It's an important job that we do as rail safety at IDOT and with the commission as well. So yeah, I'd like to shout out to Highway Department, Sheriff's Department for their help working on projects, local townships, other local agencies in their quest for rail safety.
Wait just a minute. So we seem to have this local interest in getting a rail connection now to Indianapolis. You going to help us with that?
Indianapolis, which...
Yeah, we've switched from going to Chicago now to service to Indianapolis. Could you get that pushed up in the front?
Thankfully, that's not my department.
Run for office. That's what a politician would say. Thank you very much for everything you do. Thanks, Kate.
Next would be a proclamation recognizing September as National Preparedness Month.
Chairman Fennell. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving my needle again. It's not Chairman Fennell. It's coming from Sharon. Welcome. I'm so interested in getting to the end of the meeting because there's a clock running. Jim apparently had a record last month.
Hi. We have Jason Marks here, who's our director of our Peoria County Emergency Management Agency. Okay. Proclamation. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of Peoria County to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation. And whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency's READY campaign and other federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies are working to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of Peoria County, and all citizens are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disasters and emergencies of any type. And whereas all citizens of Peoria are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities and become more prepared. Now, therefore, I, Andrew A. Rand, Chairman of the Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, do hereby recognize September 2021 as National Preparedness Month and encourage all citizens to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together toward creating a more prepared society. Dated this 9th day of September, AD 2021, signed Andrew A. Rand, Peoria County Board Chairman, and Rachel Parker, Peoria County Clerk.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and Monica and the others that helped me with the Emergency Management Agency. We wouldn't be able to be successful without the support of the board and specifically many of the county agencies, the Sheriff's Office, both with the Sheriff and Chief Deputy Gay and the captains. They're key and integral in that relationship with us being successful. So thanks, everybody.
But before you go, Jason, the story is really much bigger. The entire coordination of the incident command structure, while decorated by Monica's title and presence, was put together, organized, coordinated, and supplied by Jason from the beginning, before we knew how bad it was going to be, through the worst of it, and still today. I can speak as a health services provider who suddenly realized we didn't have enough gloves, masks, gowns. Did I say gloves? Gowns, masks, goggles. We needed eye protection. And I don't know where he thieved it from, but the stores below the main level of the health department were full of stuff that he'd been hoarding for a few years and acquiring and distributing through, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, some tilts of the hand. AMT's moves a lot of folks, so we have a lot of exposure. And every single call required full personal protective equipment, and our suppliers were asking $5 for a box of gloves. It was just a ridiculous market for several months, and Jason took care of all of us. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
A proclamation recognizing the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001.
Hello, Chairman. Sheriff?
Sheriff Asbell?
Did he leave?
Well, I will make an announcement.
Want
Today's my
every-
daughter's 45th birthday. So
Really? Jim, I didn't know
45?
you're old enough to have a 45-year-old.
I'm not, but
Okay.
it happened.
So I want everyone to notice the sheriff's shoes tonight. They're really nice.
Oh, it snuck up on the back. They call the blind side.
Well,
huh?
welcome. Yeah, I got flip-flops tonight. So, yes, Sheriff.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff, for joining us. Whereas on September 11th, 2011, the American people endured the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in nation's history with courage and heroism, and whereas Peoria County and our residents join with fellow Americans across the nation in honoring and remember those who lost their lives on this solemn 20th anniversary of our 4 planes crashes into the Pentagon, New York City, Twin Towers, and rural Pennsylvania. And whereas we commend the first responders who courageously risked their lives to rescue those in need, as well as the ordinary citizens and volunteers who selflessly gave of their lives to aid their friends and co-workers who were injured or trapped in the Twin Towers and Pentagon. And whereas the United States is unified in our purpose to prevent further tragedies like those experienced on September 11, 2001, and it is right to honor the men and women of our armed forces who fight to keep us safe from further attacks on U.S. soil. And whereas today, 2 days before the 20th anniversary of September 11, 2001, we remember that the lives that were lost, honor the heroic actions taken by our first responders, and thank the members of our military for their continued service and sacrifice. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Rand, Chairman of Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, recognize the 20th anniversary of September 11th's attacks on our nation and honor those who were lost. Dated this 9th day, September AD 2021. Andrew A. Rand, Peoria County Board Chairman. Rachel Parker, Peoria County Clerk.
I'm actually humbled to stand here to accept this. There's so many men and women that, well, everyone in this room has their own personal story from 20 years ago. We're no different. The only thing I will say, what I remember the most from the aftermath of this terrorist attack is these religious zealots wanted to change our nation forever, and they did, because within the following weeks you saw flags up everywhere. You saw neighbor helping neighbor. You saw communities coming together. I just wish we could go back in time, at least have that fellowship again. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this last year you were challenged for the COVID events that we've had here, and really put you on the challenge versus the 9/11. So we thank you for that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Sheriff. Yes, Mr. Elsasser.
I should be quiet, not speak too long, but our family went out and visited where the Twin Towers used to be about 2 years afterwards, and then we also visited Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and that's pretty sobering, and our police officers and first responders and all the people that were involved need to be highly commended for putting their life on the line, and some of them giving their life. But even I had to think of Todd Beamer, when he said, let's roll. And when I looked at that huge hole in the ground out there in the pasture, it was pretty sobering to think that he knew that he needed to give his life in order to save a whole bunch of other people. So God bless him and his family and all the people that gave their lives on our behalf.
Thank you. Before we go on, I have a couple of introductions I'd like to make. First, I see my friend Don Forrest in the audience. He has an item on the agenda. Don, would you stand, please? Don, are you still a public official out in your neck of the woods? You're retired. Were you on the school board? Which board were you on? You're making me look like a fool. There you go. We got something. He has run for, thank you, Brian. Okay, well, listen, for all the good works you do that Farnsworth supports that have nothing to do with high-quality construction and employment, thank you. Also, we have a youngster joining us right behind Rob Renault. His name is Jack Walton. He is a management analyst for a while before he begins law school, following in the footsteps of his father, who I was told earlier acts as corporation counsel for Mayor Phelan in the Heights, and we could all have fun with that, what it takes to keep him under wraps. So welcome. We hope you have a wonderful internship. I told him this is like a really big corporation. What I mean by that is we really do an awful lot of things as a service model, and it will be quite enlightening, I think, for you to get a firsthand, up-close view of what public servants do. It will exceed perhaps your best understanding from high school. Kid from Dunlap, by the way. Madam Clerk, we have a citizen comment.
Citizens' remarks? Yes.
So I have Kirsten Sheets. Would you please come up, and we will afford you a microphone. Welcome, Kirsten.
You have to turn it on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have some of the information that I'll be talking about tonight on this flash drive rather than printing off a bunch of papers. I put it on here for you guys to be able to get access to it. Not really sure who I should give that to, but
The Madam Clerk will accept it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and attention tonight. My name is Kirsten Sheets, and I'm a Peoria County resident and a board member of the Peoria County Farm Bureau representing Halleck Township. I also want to thank some of my fellow board members who are here in support for tonight. I'm here to support you, or to present to you 437 petition signatures signed by Peoria County residents requesting that you address the issue of the absence of broadband internet in our county. These signatures represent many Peoria County residents who struggle with internet service. The petition was very similar to the letter that our Peoria County Farm Bureau Board of Directors sent to each of you, representing 19 townships in Peoria County, in our attempt to bring attention and your support to the trouble of internet service in rural Peoria County. The letter and the petition both requested that this board commit a portion of ARPA funds to rural broadband internet infrastructure. We are aware that the executive committee of your board has agreed to a suggested amount of $2.5 million of ARPA funding to be dedicated to this life safety service that our rural county residents deserve access to. That's about 7% of the federal ARPA funding that this county is to receive. I'm here tonight to thank you for the amount of money that you're dedicating, but to also encourage you to consider an even larger chunk, simply because this investment in rural Peoria County is populated by the county's most important revenue asset, and that's our farming community. So it would be very much appreciated if we could have just a little bit more, and also take into consideration that these dollars are multiplied several times over by grant dollars that are applied for. Which gets me to our next step. Now that you've committed some funding to broadband internet infrastructure, we highly encourage you to set up a Connect Peoria County task force. So this money needs to be multiplied with state and federal grants, and a consultant should be hired to map out the best areas to target with this money and identify the internet service provider working in that area for us to partner with, so that we can make these middle and last mile connections. So this task force should be comprised of community stakeholders who can provide direction and purpose to this effort of extending a fiber optic network in our county. Members could include the Peoria County Health Department to address telehealth, the Regional Office of Education to address online education, the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, who currently employs a fellow to assist in addressing broadband internet issues in their territories, a rural business owner who struggles with business interruptions due to internet issues, and there are several that have signed this petition and provided comment to that regard, and rural residents such as myself who have problems with internet at home. Much more work must be completed before we can call this endeavor a success, but you have taken the first and most important step, which is dedicating funds to address this issue. So thank you for your leadership and your service to Peoria County on this matter. So I wanted to take up my last remaining time to read some of the comments, but since I'm providing you with all of the petition signatures and their comments, I'll let you review those. There's also some information on here about ARPA funding and how to extend that broadband internet money to be multiplied. That was put together by the Illinois Farm Bureau, and a few other resources on there as well. So please take a look at the information. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. If you'd please stay there. Madam Clerk has a letter to read into the record supporting your cause, and then I'd like to get back to you because I'd like you to introduce your cohort.
We did have another public comment that was emailed, and I'll share that with you now. Dear Peoria County Board, the Peoria Regional Office of Education has been working with the Farm Bureau in recent weeks to survey our rural areas for broadband access in light of the global pandemic. We have a common interest. While access to broadband is good for business and agribusiness, it is also imperative for access to remote or online learning. As we all know, at the end of 2019 to 2020 school year, had each student in Peoria County attempting to learn in some type of online format. All digital formats required and continue to require the internet for a high-quality public education. School districts throughout Peoria County made attempts to deliver hotspots or paper packets of work to students without access, but it quickly became an equity issue. Very simply, the lack of access to quality, reliable, consistent broadband meant some students did not get the same quality of instruction that others received. The dollars set aside to Peoria County through the federal government's COVID relief funding could be a major asset to right this inequity. When I read the proposed and the intent of what these dollars are for, helping develop the infrastructure for broadband makes complete sense. The global pandemic exposed many critical fissures in public services. This one lump sum could go a very long way to securing access for all, no matter where the resident lives in Peoria County. Additionally, it should be noted that a small investment could pay big dividends and matching funds elsewhere that can be explored. I am grateful to the Peoria County Farm Bureau for their thoughtful approach to this issue and to include like-minded partners in the effort. Thank you for your consideration. Beth Kreider, Peoria County Regional Superintendent.
Thank you. I wish Beth was here to read that in person because
It would have been more energetic.
it would have, and we'd all be voting yes. So would you go ahead, Ms. Sheets, and introduce your cohorts?
Sure. So Patrick Kirchhoffer here, he's our executive director, and Bob Jansen is president of our Farm Bureau. Tim Tuttle, Tucker, sorry. And actually, Bob Benson, yep. Scott Lawson, thank you. And Brett Rose, yep. So all board members who also have another board member meeting of our own to attend, but they came here tonight and supported this.
Well, I'm so glad all of you came, and I think you came to the right place. Member Elsasser, oddly enough, has never mentioned this, and he's so fond of the residents and his voters of Halleck Township that you might have caught him a little off guard. It's always good to include the member and every mayor you got. But let me help unpack this for the Peoria County Board because information is powerful. We all agree. You're more powerful if you have it and somebody else doesn't. So I have been invited to many Farm Bureau candidate nights. I think I've only missed one. I always have a good time. The food is always good. I like to pet the livestock in the kids area. That's always a lot of fun. There's no way to wash your hands though when you go eat. You might want to work on that, Jack. Certainly I drive by the Farm Bureau every day. Your business is located in the chairman's district, and we're grateful you're on that corner because if it was vacant, that would be bad. You mentioned, Ms. Sheets, and it caught me off guard because I chair the county's executive committee, that we have committed to $1.5 million to solve the problem, which clearly is a drop in the bucket. So I leaned over to Scott and I said, what is she talking about? And he says, well, you guys haven't had a chance to review this. This is just in my draft plan of how to invest the 34.6 million of miracle money we're getting as a result of the tragedy called COVID-19. So what's really interesting to me is as far as the original ARPA money was planned for health, business interruption, filling in paychecks, making sure health plans got paid for, and life went on nearly as normal as possible during the worst pandemic in the history of, I want to say, the universe. It didn't even contemplate that we would get some dividend from the tragedy, and that Scott, who's supposed to talk to me before he does anything, lined you out for $1.5 million. It's a shame on you, Scott. But when I said information, and I'll get done with this quick. When I said information is power, I want to tell you it also has a shelf life, like your milk or meat or chicken. I think this is the third meeting of the Peoria County Board since President Joe Biden signed into bill a bipartisan, bicameral funding on the order of gajillions that invests a major percentage of that in the very topic you're addressing. Now, one of the things I've always voted no on when it comes to the little dividend we get for cable from the cable providers is that they charge us $200 a month but make no investment in the areas that are more expensive to serve. And that franchise has always troubled me. Jimmy, you know, I've always voted no, and you said, why are you picking on them? I'm picking on them because their rates are not fair for the service. Those cable lines have been around for 3 decades. So I vote no because I think you're getting ripped off, and that's why I was elected. So the first place I want to go after tonight is to have a conversation with the franchise cable providers and see if the state of Illinois will change that franchising process so that the dividend to the local community is more meaningful and can actually fill in the hole you're talking about. Wouldn't that be great? Now, I've unpacked the reality of this situation, which is just leaning over and asking Scott what this was about. He is so far ahead of me, and as he always is. That 1.5 million members of the Peoria County Board will leverage, by rule, $25 million of the infrastructure bill that President Biden signed into law for exactly this coverage, rural broadband. So, information has a shelf life. We're happy to share everything with you. As chairman, I usually get a call to listen to stories about problems in the community because folks like my ability to try to solve them. And we will be there with you when this $25 million gets invested. And I dare say that if Scott lined out $1.5 million of year 2 of the ARPA dollars that will be related to by connection to the U.S. Infrastructure challenges, how many more dollars would we have to invest?
Our total allocation is 34.6, so you'd have.
No, in year two, the infrastructure bill is still gigantic. Would we not be able to leverage another $25 million?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, so there's $50 million of information that is fresh on the shelf and won't go away, and I'm really happy that Scott's gotten out ahead of this for me. And are there any other member comments on the subject? Mr. Member from Halleck.
Well, first of all, I've been in touch with Kirsten Sheets for the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm proud that she's my constituent, but she is such a tireless worker and so thorough and has so much information. I'm not sure where she gets it all, but I'm sure she finds it and presents it, and she's been very beneficial in raising this issue and bringing the facts and the figures and the potential revenue gains that we might experience in this area by investing just $1 and with a return of X number of dollars. And I also want to thank the Farm Bureau for and she's part of that as well, and I am too, for helping bring this issue to light. And then with regards to Scott, I knew that he said that he was going to make this recommendation to the board, and so I appreciate that and clarifying everything, and I do appreciate Scott's willingness to at least go that far, and we'll hopefully see what happens and hopefully see that carried through in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Groves Allison.
I just wanted to say that I actually didn't get one of those letters. So if you could get one to me, I'm very interested in some of the details. This is something I'm very interested in, so I'm happy to help where we can.
Thank you.
I have there, I believe, a copy of the letter. It mimics almost identically the petition that we had folks sign, so that is on here. So if we, as long as this information can be shared.
Sure we can. I'm going to recognize Member Daley, then Member Pastucha.
Even though my district is wholly located within the city of Peoria, in my job, I realize because of the constituents we have that live in rural Peoria County, how handicapped many of them are because they do not have internet service. And I know I've said several times, I think this should be a very high priority.
Thank you, Member Daley. I hope we can have a chance to talk to Representative Spain, particularly with his seniority now, and address the very legislation I was discussing related to these lucrative franchises held by multinational cable operators. Let's see, Member Pastucha.
I just want to thank Kirsten Sheets for bringing this to our attention and giving some more awareness about this issue to us. You know, living in the city of Peoria, I don't have internet issues. I mean, every now and then everybody does, but not like there are in the rural areas of our county. And a good equivalent to think about, what internet means to us now is to think about, water, electricity, natural gas. It's things that we take for granted anymore. And I think that even in my own home, you take for granted that you have internet until you go rent a cabin somewhere in Wisconsin and you don't have it, and then you realize it's really frustrating not to be able to do your work because you have no access to the internet. So I think that broadband internet out in the rural areas of our community or like can be equated to the electricity of 100 years ago.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just for the record, the FCC mandated a repacking of all communication frequencies issued by them to various entities, those entities being cell companies, including data and the television industry. As chairman of WTVP, I recall going through this. And the purpose of it was to plan to meet the needs of the future demand for cellular data, which is the key to rural access. I don't know too many rural places that don't have quality mobile data at speeds equal to or actually faster than cable. So when the FCC forced the repacking and rebranding of everyone's little television station number, they then went to auction and auctioned those rights to those frequencies and earned billions of dollars that they specifically were to reinvest in rural broadband, rural access. But sometimes be careful what you ask for, it might come true. I'm not sure what the economics underneath broadband look like, given the fact that cellular data is way cheaper, way faster, and you do not have to pay $200 a month to get it. So we participated in a study with Tri-County some years ago, and Jim Bowman from Caterpillar, Baumgartner, I think, and this was the hot topic. And I talked to a friend of mine in Canada who explained, you are at the end of that technology because mobile data is stuck on cell towers everywhere. So I'd like to review whether or not this $1.5 million set aside is going to leverage dollars that anybody's going to take up and invest in rural broadband coverage, simply because mobile data is the role of the day, and it is cheaper, it's accessible on your Apple Watch. So we might really want to rethink that, Scott. And I'm happy to give you the information I have about what cellular data costs versus broadband. So, having said that, Madam Clerk, call the item. Thank you very much for coming.
Next would be the consent agenda.
A motion to approve. Dr. Blair, Ms. Groves Allison, are there any comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, please vote. Oh, oops. All right. Sharon, then Mr. Elsasser.
I'd like to pull C8 and C9.
All right. We've got C8 and C9 times 2. Anything else? Seeing none, please vote. Thank you for coming, you guys. Ladies.
I'm sorry, that was C2 and C8.
All right. Get a motion on C8, please.
This is on everything other than the 2 that were pulled.
Well, I thought we voted already.
No.
We're still voting, okay.
Right.
Hang on a sec, I'm getting ahead of the computer. Ms. Williams, your vote's not in. Stomp your feet. Thank you.
That's 17 ayes, 1 nay.
All right.
Now let me put in C.
C8.
One moment.
Motion by Ms. Williams in the second. Dr. Blair, thank you for helping me out. We'll wait on the clerk to catch up.
Thank you.
You don't catch up, I'm going too fast. All right, clerk is ready, please vote. C8. The discussion, it's on the floor. Madam Williams. I got,
Yeah.
If they're not pasted yet, posted?
Yes.
Posted, okay.
Motion by Williams, second by Member Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is obviously for the architect and engineering for the health campus that we've been discussing over the past several months at Health Committee. We had 5 firms that submitted a statement of qualification, and 3 were shortlisted. Then our internal review board interviewed those 3 and came back with a unanimous vote for Farnsworth Group, and the Health Committee concurred.
Thank you. Mr. Elsasser?
Now, are these funds going to be spent to possibly design or look into something new, or as far as remodeling our our existing campus?
I will let the chairperson of the committee speak.
That decision hasn't been made. We're going to look at either remodeling or replacing or potentially moving. So we haven't made that decision yet.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, you have the floor.
I mean, we're not supposed to discuss number 9 right now, but because it's another item, but I'm going to kind of time together.
You can discuss it,
Yeah,
it's fine.
in number 9, you have the River City, which is a construction company, obviously. But so are they kind of like doing the same thing, or I mean, are they going to analyze, how much it would cost to remodel the existing campus and/or build a new one, or?
I think we're vesting that question with the professionals at Farnsworth, okay? The cost side is different than design, so that's perhaps why
Right.
we're talking to Farnsworth here. Mr. Dillon?
So Brian, I know some of the younger members on the board, or newer members, wouldn't remember. This process is very similar to what we went through with the Headington Oaks, where they're tasked to study the site, study the building, present us with options, and then proceed from there whether or not is, I don't know if you remember when they selected sites.
I remember
and then
all of
they
it.
said it's this amount of money to rehab the building, it's this amount of money to build building. The way I understand it, that's the exact same process that we're going to use, and that was the expertise of Mr. Farnsworth is here and Ms. Skuse is here with President of River City Peoria is blessed with top-notch firms, and we're seeing two of the best here today. That's why they were selected for this process. This is what their expertise is. But it's very similar to what we did in Huntington Oaks. It'd be a lot easier to hear today just say we're building new and going from there. But the process of the board is to go through. They're going to have to look at the old building, the site, and everything. They might come back and say, this isn't essentially building a building today. Am I wrong, Scott?
Thus far, Mr. Dillon, everything you said is right on point.
Floor is yours.
Will there be any consideration of a possibility of using part of Headington Oaks for this project? I mean, will that even be something that might be used in an open-minded situation?
I'll answer that for the manager. I do not think that repurposing of $40 million of O and saddling the health, I don't think taking $40 million of bond debt and adding it to Monica's daily chores is something anyone here wants to do. So there's no reasonable basis to come to that pragmatic question, in my view. Mr. Ricker.
Yeah, I'll just add a little perspective, at least from my side, maybe some fellow board members. The first step, as I understand it, is we are engaging these professionals to help us evaluate the need, where the citizens are that need the services of the health department, and look at all the options. So we're at the first phase of needs and evaluation. We're not building a building yet. We're not spending money to do construction yet, because we haven't decided, and there will be a vote at some point once they bring back the evaluation of the need and give us their professional review. Then the committee and then the full board will make a decision on which avenue or which direction we'd like to go. So just kind of help you, Brian. We're not at that point of juncture yet to talk about construction of a facility or building.
Thank you. Good perspective. Others, Member Daley and then Member Rosenbaum.
No one hates spending money on this board probably more than I do. No one is cheaper, but I have to say I was extremely pleased that these are the two groups we're going to work with. I worked with them for 3 years on all 5 of our libraries, and both Farnsworth Group and River City are absolutely first rate, and I have great confidence that whatever we decide, they are going to come up with some very good statistics, data, designs, ideas, and perhaps eventually construction.
Who did I see next? Mr. Rosenbaum.
I don't have a problem with doing all the stuff. I just have a problem with spending money on the old building or having somebody look at it, because it's pretty much, I don't think it's something that can be refurbished, to either tear it down and build a new or do another one. I just hope we're not spending a lot of money looking at refurbishing this one, because I think there's better ways to spend our money on it. That's the problem I have with any of this. Is there a certain amount that's going for looking at refurbishing the old one or remodeling the old one, or is most of it just seeing what the needs are for the health department?
I will let the committee chairperson address that, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
So no decisions have been made in regards to what we're going to do yet. As Mr. Ricker said, we're in the beginning phases of it. We're going to look at possibly remodeling, possibly replacing, possibly relocating. We're going to look at all 3 of those items, but this is going to be a very data-driven decision. We're going to be presented with data from the health department on who we serve, what departments are covered, and we did, the health committee has been touring the sites. Like, for example, we toured the coroner's office to look at his needs. But that's what the Farnsworth Group and River City will be doing. They'll be looking at all of our options and presenting us with their best option that they feel we should use.
Mr. Rosenbaum.
So basically, we got to throw the remodeling in. Just as I guess that part, I totally agree that we need to do something. It's just a matter of that one just seems, the building's so old and needs so much work.
Let me see if I could get your permission to let Don speak. He is expert at estimating. So Don, the question in play is how much time or expense will there be in figuring out what it takes to remodel the existing physical plant? Ballpark.
Well, I'm afraid the answer is I don't know, because that's something we got to work out with the staff and Monica and the committee, and they sort of have to direct us. I beg your pardon. And I also want to point out that this integrated project delivery. So our work with Leanne and River City will also be very close to coming up, working very closely together to talk about the various costs. So we'll be working together closely with River City. So it's not like a step A is Farnsworth does their thing and then River City comes in later. It's really hand in glove. But
Don, we're really not going to hold you to the answer. I think the question, would the answer be not too much of the project expense?
if probably not, I guess. But it all depends on the direction we're given. I mean, I'm not sure we're anywhere near that point of knowing exactly what the steps are going to be at this point. But compared to, the amount of effort that would go into analyzing a new build would be much greater than the renovation piece, just from an analytical standpoint. I don't know.
Other members, but Mr. Dillon, now I feel uncomfortable that he's not willing to commit to half as much or not so much, because the way this is laying, and I think it's a real poor position to take. So that's why I invited you up here. Mr. Dillon, would you like to help?
So personally, this is what Farnsworth and River City do, and they're going to give you a detailed answer. Most of anybody that's walked through that building is going to know the answer if you've ever taken some time to go there. As a contractor, I can walk in and give you a rough estimate. They're going to dive into it a little bit deeper. I know there's some people on this board, Paul, that are all for building a new home, or not a new home, but a new health department. There's some people that aren't all the way there yet, and then there's some people that need to see the data to show the data. What they're going to do is work with the health department, get the data. I mean, River City estimates every day. I could call them tomorrow, same with Don. They can get me a roof price within, they have other experts that they bring to the table. So go up on the roof, see that the roof's bad. All right, what's the roof cost? All right, pencil that in. It's compiling some data that's whether going to be used, whether we build new or old, because it's going to be fairly quick data. He'll have some design. If we do decide to go new, the design will be preliminary theirs. Then River City will do the budgetary numbers and pick all that. I mean, we're not at the point yet where we've said, okay, we're having terrazzo floor or block walls versus that. The design team is what they'll do is they'll go in, meet with Monica. Don's team's already done a ton of health things, so they'll bring in ideas for that. Most of theirs is going to be getting the data to give us so that we can go out and sell it to our constituents of why we need a new health department. And in the process, they'll be working through all that. Personally, I don't see, it's an exercise we've worked through in the past on other large projects. I don't see Don and Leanne's a ton of their time going through other than putting up some reports for us to show us the data of new versus old and go there. They do this all the time. Half the time they do this for projects and they never even get a project. So is that a decent enough explanation for?
It's certainly helpful to me. Mr. Rosenbaum, since it was your question, and then Ms. Williams.
My main thing, I just don't want to spend a lot of money when I think the whole board would concur that the building that the health department in is right now probably isn't worth remodeling for what we need. So I just don't want to spend a lot of money doing that when we already know we need to do the other part.
Thank you, Paul. Let me go to Sharon. Sharon?
Thank you.
Just real quick, I want to add that this is a healthcare campus. So we're talking about bringing other offices within the health department, which would be the ROE, we're talking on sustainability, and we're also talking about bringing the coroner's office into this campus as well. We're also considering other options that have been brought to the table.
Thank you. Are we all done? All right, so the motion on the floor for C8, vote of yes is, as usual, in the affirmative. Please vote.
Seventeen ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you, Madam
You'll
Clerk.
Give me a moment. I will plug in C9.
Sheriff.
And then we would need a motion in a second.
All right, C9, who'd like to move? Mr. Salzer, is that a yes? Thank you. And the second would come from my friend, Dr. Blair. Thank you for getting close. I see Betty over there. I need to start. I need to get something to fix my peripheral vision. All right. C9 is a companion piece to C8. I think we have discussed it thoroughly. Would anybody need any more on C9? Ms. Williams.
Just real quick, we had 3 firms, and all were interviewed, and after the interview and scoring by the internal team, River City Construction was unanimously chosen, and the health committee concurred.
Thank you. Sharon, before we vote, I know this has been quite an undertaking on your part. I know from, and I'm going to take great umbrage at Member Daly's comments that she's known as the cheapest person on the board, because you can't outdo Sharon and you can't outdo me, and we've been here long enough. So, and you know, and I know how we wrangled over what to do with the skilled care facility, and particularly with a $54 million investment in that. But I do think it's been rather brave of you in light of the times that the conversation began, COVID, in light of the extraordinary burdens Director Hendrickson faced in unprecedented, uncharted waters, to take this up. I owe you one for that. I buy you soda. And Monica, if we're missing anything here, please tell us. Otherwise, just nod your head. We're fine. Great. All right. Please vote. Go ahead, Mr. Alsasser.
Well, I wasn't planning on voting for the first one, but I did. But I just feel uncomfortable on this one because I feel like we might be better served waiting till we receive the information from Farnsworth and then possibly doing this. And my no vote on this is nothing against River City. I know all the people down there really well, but that's just my gut feeling.
Thank you. I'm going to take a scientific wild blank guess and say it's probably a good idea to get in line with River City, because the work that's coming through the pipeline, we don't want to get behind it. Mr. Dillon?
So Brian, yes, River City is a general contractor, but what we're hiring them for today is a CM at risk. So that's a construction manager. So similar like we did at the nursing home, we didn't just put out a set of prints and just low bid comes in. What we did is hired a CM at risk that went out and put the packages together and did all this. So Farnsworth and River City are working in tandem in this thing. So Farnsworth, it's all part of the tripod here. So you got the construction manager, the owner, and the group. It's all a team that they're going to put together here. So in reality, Farnsworth can't do their job without River City, and vice versa. So they're CM at risk. This isn't awarding them a building. We're using them for their construction profession. So Don does a wonderful job designing it. River City does a wonderful job building it. So those two talk to how to make that come together, just as if it would have been one of our other good local contractors, and we have very good local other firms that have done it. It's just in this experience, they cannot do it without each other. So I would encourage you to rethink that, because it isn't just them as builders, it's part of the package. And the CM at risk, if anybody knows, there's all sorts of different things. General contractor, CM at risk. CM at risk is what we've utilized in the past. So they.
Jimmy, the night is going old.
So they'll put it together and they give us the numbers, and those numbers are being held. Well, you
That's
took up
why
the
I'm
first
gonna, that's
50
why I'm
minutes.
gonna vote for it. Okay, we all done? Mr. Rosenbaum.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for letting us pull this off and having Chairman Williams explain this, because it's very intricate and detailed, and I just, on a consent agenda, I wouldn't want to run this through.
Agreed. That's a really good point, and I'm sure Sharon.
Sharon, I
want
want to thank you for taking the time to explain that, because it makes it easier to vote, to make good decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to thank Member Daly as well before we vote for being mindful of capital investment. She has not yielded since she was appointed. She has not yielded in her campaign, and she's certainly not yielded since she was reelected, that she's not voting for any more taxpayer spending, and I will give you that credit, but it's fleeting. Please vote.
Sixteen ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you, everyone.
Zoning ordinances and resolutions. Item number 1, a resolution from Chairman of Public Safety and Justice Committee and the County Administrator recommending approval of a FFY21 State Court Improvement Program grant agreement with the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts in the amount of $21,000 to fund independent contractor attorneys who serve as appointed guardian ad litem in juvenile abuse and neglect court.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenbaum on the first, and the second would be Ms. Duncan. Thank you. Any comments or questions for the administrator or the chairperson? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Renaud? 17 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you, and I have to stop here and apologize. I was supposed to introduce Leanne Skuse. I don't know if she stepped away yet, but she was the representative from River City, and we got to know her, y'all, because she built Headington for us. So I apologize for not introducing her.
Next is item 2, a resolution from the Chairman of County Operations Committee and the County Administrator recommending approval of the collective bargaining agreement between Peoria County and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council Corrections Unit.
Thank you, Mr. Reynaud, and Ms. Pastusha on the second. I know this was a lot of give and take. I want to praise Shauna and her group, as well as the deputies, for finding the light that we needed to move ahead. These are coming off tough times. I think everybody did the right thing here, and I hope Sheriff is happy. Please vote.
There we go. 17 ayes, 1 nay.
All right, I will not bother council tonight. Can I get a motion to suspend the rules, please? Miss Brandy and Mr. Renaud on the second. As we know, we suspend the rules because. Please vote. It's easier not to see it. I just realized it tonight.
17 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Last would be a proclamation extending the declaration of emergency due to COVID-19 in Peoria County, Illinois.
And this will be a very short proclamation as I look for a motion. And Mr. Watkins weighs in. And the second can come from Mr. Reynaud. You want to introduce that youngster with you? I don't think we gave you a chance tonight. That's my bad.
That's okay. He's been here before. This is my son, Brady.
I thought he's chaired the meeting before.
He has. Yeah, but this time he's doing it for his high school economy class.
Well, I know we were all thinking this would be only 15 minutes of the required 3 hours, but we're at 1 hour and 19 minutes.
Yeah,
so
we're getting
you're
him some
almost
time
halfway
tonight.
there, Brady. And if you count walking to the parking lot, you will be halfway. All right, please vote.
15 ayes, 3 nays. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Next is miscellaneous and announcements.
All right, this is the part of the meeting where we let everybody say what's on their mind. I'll start to my right. Mr. Seeing anyone, I'm gonna come to the front row. Miss Rachel. Okay, going to the middle row. Looking at Jimmy. Thank you, Miss Pastusha. Really, go ahead.
Sorry. I have to mention this now because by the next meeting it'll be too late. One of my favorite things in Peoria happens the first 2 weekends in October, and it's in Springdale Cemetery. It's the Prairie Folklore Cemetery Tours. Honest to God, it's my favorite
great.
thing that happens in Peoria.
Where they do the ghosts.
And
The reenactors.
it's reenactment of people from Peoria
It's
who are buried in
creepy.
Springdale, and you learn fascinating things about our community. So you can get the tickets online. Look up Prairie Folklore Theater, Springdale Cemetery.
I think you should invite the whole board. We'll post notice, comply with the Open Meetings Act, but you should invite us all and pay our way in. Thank you. All right, so go around to my left. Was there any miscellaneous? All right, we would be adjourned.
One thing.
Oh, wait, the
I
clerk.
would just like to recognize our treasurer, Nicole, who was 25 Women in Leadership. She was one of them selected. She's on TV every morning on the commercials, so.
You're our one in leadership for recognition. Thank you very much. We'd be adjourned on that high note.